Yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy King Killer back here today with another video. Thank you guys for dropping by. So in today's video, man, I am excited because we are starting a new series on the channel where it pretty much consists of me telling you guys stories about my personal life. Now, these stories can be anything from when I was in school, from work, from my social life, and everything in between. And it's pretty much gonna be like how Chris Move used to do his old Call of Duty videos. If you guys remember Chris Move, he an OG, where he used to go ahead and he would narrate his stories and he would just have like COD gameplay in the background. And yeah, so real quick, before I do go ahead and get started with this first story, if you guys haven't already, make sure to drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, man. We are turning up all of 2023 and it's greatly appreciated. So without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and get started with this first video, with this first story. And it's gonna be about the time two cops ran up on me and thought that I was a gangster. And yeah, so we're gonna have to go back to about, I'm gonna say March or April of 2020. It was when the pandemic first started. And a lot of the times I would be going out like really late to the store, to like the 7-Eleven store that's down my street. It's like 8 to 10 minutes away. And I used to go around like 10, 11, 12 at night. I don't really know why. I think it's just because I was bored in the house, and like since everybody was inside, a lot of things were still on lockdown. That was like the only thing I could really do. So I used to go around that time. And there was a time where I went ahead, you know, it was cold. I wanted something to, I think I wanted like some chips or something. So I went ahead, threw on my hoodie, threw on the hood, put on my AirPods, and I went. And I went down my street, took a right, and I used to jaywalk across this main street. So it was like the street, and then there was like an island in the middle, and then there was a street, and then obviously the sidewalk on the other side. And I would used to cross through there just because it was never really busy around that time. There was hardly any cars. And there was a crosswalk a little bit down the street, but I always went this way just because it was an easier route, because I didn't have to wait at the crosswalk for the light to turn. And right before I went ahead and took a step, there was a cop car that passed by me. And I don't know why, in my head I was like, maybe I should walk down the street and take the crosswalk. But then I was also thinking like, nah, like what are the odds that they care that I jaywalk? So I went ahead and I started walking, and as soon as I got to the island in the middle of the street, I had seen the lights turn on, and I had seen them like coming around. And in my head I'm like, there's no way like this is for me. Like there's no way they about to, you know, give me a ticket because I jaywalked. So I went ahead and I'm like, nah, it's probably not even for me. So I went ahead, I crossed the street, and now I started walking down, and the cop car started coming straight towards me, and I'm like, nah, this ain't for me. I seen they started slowing down, and I was like, yeah, it's for me. So I was like, they really about to give me a ticket for jaywalking, you know? So I was like, whatever. So I'm just gonna go ahead, I'm gonna try to be polite, just because, you know, if I'm cool with them, maybe they'll let me off with like a warning or whatever, you know? So they go ahead, they come up to me, and you know, the guy's like, hey, because it was two cops. The one in the shotgun was like, hey kid, he's all like, hold up real quick. So I take off my AirPods, and I'm like, what's up? And real quick, before I continue with the story, I just want to let you know, he's gonna tell me something about the gang. It's like the gang initials, but I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna switch it up just so you guys don't know what gang it is. And I'm just gonna use the letters A and B for the story. So continuing, you know, he came up, he's like, hey kid, like wait, hold on real quick. I take off my AirPods, and I'm like, yo, what's up? And he goes, oh, like where you heading? I'm like, oh, I'm just going down the street. I'm like, I'm going to 7-Eleven to get some snacks and stuff. And he's like, oh, okay, that's cool, that's cool. He's like, you know, because it's late at night. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And he goes, so what else are you gonna buy? And I'm like, nothing. I'm like, just, you know, some chips, sodas, something like that, you know? And he's like, oh, okay, cool. And I was about to start walking away, and he tells me, do you have an AB on your chest? And I'm like, I look at him funny. I'm like, excuse me? And he goes, do you have an AB on your chest? And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, do you have an AB on your chest? And I look, he thought like it was like a rhetorical question or something, or like he was trying to be funny, because I look down at my chest and I look at him, and I'm like, I don't get it. He's like, do you have an AB tattooed on your chest? And I look down, and I'm like thinking he's trying to be funny or something. I'm like, no. I was like, I don't know. I don't know what that means. I don't know what you're trying to tell me. He's like, do you have this tattooed on your chest? And then he said the gang name, and I was like, oh, okay, it kind of makes sense. And I was like, nah. I was like, I don't got that on my chest. I don't bang. And as soon as I said that, like he like stopped being so tense. Like he kind of like relaxed a little bit, because he was like real, like, you know, like cautious about, you know, who I was and all that. But as soon as I told him that, you know, he started relaxing. He's like, oh, okay. He's like, oh, my bad. I'm like, no, yeah. And like told him like, did you want to see or something? And he was like, no, it's cool, it's cool. He's like, my bad, it's just because you look exactly like this one guy. And I guess he was telling me that there was a guy that I guess recently got out of prison or jail, and he was wanted again for, I don't know what it was, but obviously the cops were looking for him, so they were on high alert. And he said he was around this area, and he was telling me like, oh, my bad, it's just because like you look like him. And I was like, oh, okay. And like, you know, I kind of laughed it off, and he's like, no, like for real, like you look exactly like him, like same haircut, same facial hair, same skin color, like same height, like you look exactly like him. And I'm like, oh, I was like, well, yeah, I was like, nah, I was like, well, it ain't me, you know, so I'm just trying to go on my way. And he goes, oh, okay, so, you know, and then he chops it up. He's like, oh, like, yeah, you know, just be careful when you out here, because, you know, it's like a lot of dangerous stuff and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, bro, like, it's not my first time walking out in the night, you know, like, I grew up here, like, I know, like, the good spots, the bad spots and stuff like that. So he just tells me, all right, cool, like, sorry for the trouble, like, all that inconvenience and all that stuff. And he ends up going on his merry way. I go my separate way. I go to the store and I come back. And the whole time that I was talking to him, I had my hoodie on, and I had my hands inside my pocket, like the hoodie pocket. So this whole time, I don't know if he thought this, but it wasn't until like later when I got home, I was thinking if he thought I had a gun with me, just because I had both my hands inside my pocket like that. And I didn't really think about it at the time, but I was like, maybe that's why he was so tense, just because maybe he thought I was carrying like a firearm on me. Because if he did think like I was that gangster, then he probably thought that I was like armed and dangerous. But luckily nothing really happened after that. He just, like I said, he ended up telling me like, you know, just be safe, cautious, all that. He went his way, I went my way, and that was pretty much it. That was the time 2 cops ran up on me and they thought that I was a gangster. So if you guys did enjoy today's video and you guys want to make this a series, let me know by dropping a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because it's greatly appreciated. And hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. I'll catch you on the next one. Stay safe. Peace.